seen this many people excited and this much ability to buy, for example, Bitcoin, at least right now. There's rumblings of Ethereum ETF and stuff as well. Maybe this year, maybe next year, whenever. I know Somi's like, if it happens this year, sell it all, baby, sell it all, like that. It's too good. That could be a sell the news event type of thing. No idea, right. But I think this just people. I still haven't heard, I got a few friends who are no coiners. I still haven't heard them come and start asking me, hey, what was that thing you were telling me? What's that hex thing you were telling me about? Like, what do you think about Bitcoin right now? Like that kind of thing. I haven't seen people close to me start clamoring about it yet. But I think the ETFs, again, the whole idea, right? The dream of the ETFs is if everyone just puts 1%, just 1% of their portfolio, that's trillions of dollars into Bitcoin and all that. And then once they come into Bitcoin, they'll look around and they'll see all the other things that are cheaper and, early and all that stuff too. So that's one of the big unknowns, is that in theory, I mean, that sounds like something that could happen. How long will it take? Will there be speed bumps along the way? Regulation stuff coming up? Will it be good regulation? Will it be bad regulation if it happens at all? But I think I've been pleasantly surprised with, I think we've all been beaten down so much in the bear market where you're kind of just like, anything good that happens, you're kind of shocked, right? You're like, oh, that's cool. It's gonna. Don't get happy yet. Don't get to keep leveled, keep measured. You don't want to get too excited. You don't want to get the hopium up. But then if it happens over and over and over, and especially in our neck, as far as PulseChain and Hex and stuff goes, you see benevolent whales coming back. You see God whales back on Twitter. You see other whales buying and bridging and all this stuff. Those are whoever's tying that into like the broader markets. If there were a plan, if there were some sort of way for glory in the ecosystem, and smart people were calling the shots, maybe they see something in the macro. Like maybe that's like an indirect sort of like wink of, hey, what I called it the other day as like a test pump or like a warning shot kind of thing. Hey, things are looking all right. Maybe we're good. Maybe we're green for a while.
And that's a very interesting point too, because if you look at the peak on Bitcoin here being January 11th, the day after, or pretty much the day of the ETFs and everything, and then we come over here and we look on PulseChain, right? We look at January 7th into that time of about January 11th. We had started a good move here on 3 days of going up from 4 zeros and a 5 to about 4 zeros and an 8, kind of chilled out a little bit. And then we continued there when the rest of the market was kind of pulling back a little bit here. And yeah, I agree 100% because around, I think wasn't it on, I think January 11th that Richard Hart also announced that he had the different lawyers to like build his case against the SEC and
January
stuff like that.
6th.
Okay, so it was a 6. So it was right at the beginning of this whole pump then. Okay, perfect. So I think the timing on that was close. So it front ran the ETF announcement by a little bit. And I think that's smart too, because as people maybe take some profits here from Bitcoin or Ethereum, right, and then roll that into PulseChain as the news gets bullish, I think when we're looking from a whale perspective, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. And then it just solidifies these lows here and then these secondary lows here as most likely, in my opinion, the absolute lows for PulseChain in its entire history, which, if you know that and okay, well, how far have we moved from those lows thus far, right? We've only moved about a 3x from those lows. So if we're going to do, anywhere from a 50x to a 1000x to a 10,000x or whatever, we're freaking early as hell. Like if I were to do some perspective, right? Let's go to Ethereum and let's go way, way back. And let's go here to October of 2015. Okay. And then in terms of the data here on the chart, and then I'm going to take a look at here. Okay. What price was Ethereum at a 250% increase? All right. $1.50. So, I'm not saying that's
I remember Ethereum at like $8. It's crazy. We can't think in exponentials. We can only think linear. It's really incredible for anyone to even be able in this game who survives and makes money in it, because you have to think differently. Yet you can't think human nature.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the same thing as like how the internet grew, how AI will come about, how crypto has come about. And then also with quantum computing and stuff like this, it's all the same. Like people are like, oh, AI just kind of popped off in the last year. Well, where do you think it'll be in 10 years, right? It's going to be, invasive into the rest of society. It's already changing the world a lot. And I think crypto is the exact same way. And yeah, I think the earliest that I had heard about Ethereum was around $30. And then, I didn't get into it until around here in May of 2017 at 90. I thought I was late. And, by that I was late. But, this went up to $1,400 and it was like 2 months after I got into Ethereum, where it was around this part here, where it came up to $400 really quickly after that. That's where I went to my first Bitcoin meetup, actually, and Vitalik Buterin was speaking at the time.
Yes.
I didn't know anything what was going on, but it made me super bullish and, made this last move here just very, very profitable. And then during the bear market, when all this price was coming back below the areas that I had bought in, or back to the areas I'd bought in actually at about $90. And so that made me be like, oh yeah, I remember when I bought Ethereum at $90. Now it's $80 to $100 again. Shit, maybe I should buy some more, right? And so, and then the cycle continued, right? And I think we have this type of road ahead of us, if not potentially better in the PulseChain community. But
I like to give the analogy too that it's kind of like if you think of primitive humans, where we have this instinct that we don't want to do something unless we see other people being successful at it. Correct. And investing in crypto and stuff like that, we all know that's the top, right? You're at the top, or at least not the bottom. So it's kind of like you're seeing in markets and stuff. I feel like so many people get in this trap of you tell them about any coin and they're like, oh, it's probably it's doing well. Oh, it's probably too high right now. I'll wait till it goes down. Right. Or here's a good entry price. Oh, it's probably just going to keep going down. I don't want to buy the loser coin. All this stuff. It doesn't look very good. I always like that. It doesn't look very good. Like what does that even mean? And so it's like we want to see people eat the apple before we eat the apple. We want to see everyone else eat the apple from the tree, or at least the one or two people eat it and then not die. And then, okay, maybe we'll get in later. But what if all the apples are gone? What if the tree stops producing? Like that's it. And there is obviously risk. And we talked about, mentioned earlier, Bitcoin, a lot of people are in it. They don't care. They want that 2 or 3x. They just want to outperform the stock market. They want to outperform that. That's their risk profile. Totally fine. And then there's people who have higher aspirations. They want the 10,000x. They want the 100x. They want all this stuff. And you place your bets accordingly. Yeah.
And here, I mean, when you look at percentage terms, it's like, what? Right. We had, it looks like here about a 335% increase, 335,000% increase. Yeah. I gotta make sure to add the 1,000 on there. But yeah, it's just a massive growth, in Ethereum at the time. A lot of other layer ones tend to do anywhere between, 500x, from their lows to highs in their first bull market to potentially, up to like a 2000x. Is what we've seen before. So, I mean, what are your kind of not necessarily predictions, but maybe at this moment kind of guesses in terms of what PulseChain could either realistically do or ideally do based on, what you're seeing?
Yeah. I mean, I don't like to give predictions or specifics or obviously financial advice or anything, but
I think not financial advice for sure.
Yeah. I think that the way I look at it is, I don't see a ceiling. I don't see, the price god. There's no price god with a gavel up there. No, you can't go like Richard said it before. There's the price is too high. The market cap is too much, especially if you look at OA versus not OA supply and all that stuff. And I think that's a big thing people get shocked at, especially I think I saw recently GoPulse, by default, it used to be OA included, I think. And now it's by default OA not included. And you got to click a button to include it. And I was always thinking when I saw that, I wonder if we had it OA included the entire time and people saw, Hex or PulseChain was like 5 billion already. They're, a lot of people are like, oh, that's just, I'm not early. I'm not going to touch that thing. And I wonder like how many people are going to be surprised if that was going to be like a hidden pump middle and stuff too. But now I think by default it's off. And now people can see, hey, again, if you got to be cool with the OA, you got to understand all this stuff. But if you are, and you believe they're benevolent, well, they're not going to sell, or that their mission is all the things they've done before have not been to hurt the price, that type of stuff. Then you can factor that into your model and you can say, okay, I'm okay with that. Now let's look at the market cap. Okay, it's much lower. Okay, there's this huge community. There's stakers are up, active wallets are up, bridge stables are up, sentiment is up, engagement is up, volume is up. Why wouldn't, what's going to bring it down? Again, knock on wood, there's the SEC FUD and all that stuff too. Looks like, when Richard came out swinging with 11 lawyers, his team of hopefully bodybuilder brains in the industry, something about Elon Musk, I can't remember, being represented by one of them at some point. I think.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I heard something. I mean, don't quote me on that. I thought I heard something about that. I'm sure we'll find out more through time. I'm sure somebody will start doing portfolios. Oh, this is Richard's awesome team, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
I
don't
think
see
Moon Gang Crypto put out like the
Money
pictures.
Gang,
I'm sorry, Money Gang Crypto. He put out pictures of each lawyer that was representing him there, and like a little bit about their backgrounds. I thought that was pretty useful.
Definitely, yeah. Money Gang has a lot of good infographics and stuff. Shout out to him. I just don't. The way I look at it, I just don't see, like, outside of imaginary horribles, I don't see it. Like, what's going to bring it? What's going to make people say, "Hey, this thing," one of which out of the two, one of which is barely over SAC price, the other is significantly under SAC price. Still, it's down 50% PulseX instead of being down 80 and 90% like it was before. Mm-hmm. Like, what is, and you have all these people behind it. We talked, Sami talks about the 160 or so content creators, 70 streamers, approximately, something like that. Like, what is the downside here? It feels like to me, I treat it as such a asymmetric, opportunity.
Yep.
Like, what is, it's
the downside is truly limited, right? Because, well, let's say, for me, when I first got into Ethereum, I was thinking the same thing, right? Like when I got into Ethereum, like literally, right there, right? When I was getting in, I was like, well, what is the worst thing that can happen? It could go to zero, and the $1,000 that I put into it could turn into nothing. Well, have I seen $1,000 go away before? Sure. But at that time, it was a significant amount of capital for me. I was working and making a lot of money, but then money came in, money came out, pretty quickly. And so being able to save, more than $5,000 at any given time was actually a challenge at that particular point in time. And when I saw that first $1,000 go to $4,000, even though I was willing for that 1,000 to go to zero, that's what got me freaking hooked on the market. I was like, holy shit, I have never seen anything move that fast. I've never seen that type of opportunity before. So that's what really motivated me to learn this space. And I think, if you look at that same kind of grain of salt here, which is, yeah, maybe it goes back down to the lows it had. Maybe it does go to zero. And if we look at the price now, if you were to buy and you go down to the first price here on the chart, that's about an 80% decrease. How many times have we seen that in crypto? Like all the freaking time. But what's the risk there versus, like you said, if we just go to new all-time highs and then we have no ceiling after that, then we have about a little bit more than a double, almost a 2x, or sorry, almost a 3x here, 138% increase just to get to previous all-time highs. And then once you pass there, we know things go parabolic. And like you said, a lot of people have a hard time understanding that exponential growth, because then, from there you can rocket up and very quickly from where we're at, you can get to about a 10x from here. And all of a sudden it's 10% of a penny. And, some of those prices of a penny or 3 cents for PulseChain at that point, it doesn't sound so crazy, right?